It is total anarchy in the streets right now.
Others have been injured as rioting youth started throwing rocks at police.
There's an unjust law is no law at all.
Historic St. John's Church set under fire.
God.
Is this a war going on here? We're really talking about our future. What type of country do we want to be?
Hello, welcome to Holding the Line, America's fight for religious freedom. One time, Craig, my other producer and cameraman, we were driving around Kentucky and we were doing interviews, and we realized how close we were to Indiana. We knew of a story that happened there in Knightstown, and it was a bit of a drive, but when we sat everyone down and heard their story, man, it was worth it. You're gonna meet Kevin Ritchie and the owner of Hoosier's Home Court Cafe, and Amanda Abbott, a stay-at-home mom. And through this experience, they have formed a ministry called Matthew 5:40. And more about that. But let's meet them now.
I'm Kevin Ritchie, and I was born and raised in Knightstown, Indiana. When I was 18, I went away to college in Indiana University and was married and had children, and moved to Cincinnati for a while, and then went back to Bloomington and spent most of my career and my life in Bloomington, Indiana, working for the university. And I also worked in Lake Tahoe, California, and also New Orleans. And about 6 years ago, something called me back to Knightstown. I'd been here, you know, off and on to visit my parents, and my children lived around the area. So I came back here one day 6 years ago to visit and walked into this restaurant. Some friends of mine brought me in here. It's a restaurant that had been here forever, and it was their last day of business. They decided to close it. So just on a whim, I walked back to the kitchen and talked to the people that were operating it, and they said it was for sale, and so I pretty much bought it the next day and have been here for about 6 years.
My name is Amanda Abbott. I've lived in Knightstown pretty much my whole life. I moved away for about 5 years to Springport, which is just a little north of Newcastle. Lived there for about 5 years. My mom and dad sold their house, and they moved into that house when I was 6 months old. They sold it to my brother. He lived there for the 5 years that I was away. Well, then he moved to Cincinnati, so I moved back into the home that I was pretty much born in. So I'm a stay-at-home mom to a 12-year-old son, and that's pretty much my story. I think Knightstown's a very safe, really slow speed town. You know, every night about 10 o'clock, my neighbor comes out and we sit on the porch and have coffee. You hear nothing. No one's driving by. You know, I can let my son go out and play, and it's very community oriented. If I need anything, I can go to any door and say, hey, I need 2 eggs. You know, you'll have 20 people standing there to give it to you. It just feels like family.
Mm-hmm. I think they're very, like Amanda was saying, they're very family-oriented, very community-oriented. A lot of the people that live here have lived here most of their life. Some are you know, transported out of the bigger cities. They come out here to find a slower pace, better schools, etc. So there's a lot of advantages of being here. I have a little bit different perspective than Amanda, since I'm a good deal older. So I remember the town when I was young, back in the 60s, and a lot has changed because the interstate came in a little bit later when I was a little older. So that dramatically changed the landscape of the town, the business, etc. But one thing that hasn't changed is the small town community feel. The churches are still strong here. They still have a lot of community groups. The kids have their summer sports and a lot of activities going on. And of course now we have the Hoosier Gym, which is, you know, a big tourist attraction. But the same feeling she's talking about was here 50 years ago.
Does this town sound great? Everybody knows each other, cares for each other. It's a typical small town. Probably a place where they would shoot a Hallmark Christmas movie, right? Well, the drama certainly escalated here one year during the lighting of the Christmas tree.
Every Christmas season, they will have, the Chamber of Commerce does a lighting of the Christmas tree, and there's a raffle, and somebody gets chosen to light it. And a couple years ago, it was my son, and he thought that was the best thing ever. So Santa's there, and you just push the button that turns it on. But everybody's there. There's places uptown that give out free hot chocolate, free popcorn. They had ornaments you could make for free, and everybody's up there. People from the bank dress up as Frosty the Snowman, and they walk around and take pictures with the kids. There was horse and carriage rides for free at the local church, and it's just really fun. The whole town's there. It's, you know, something for us to do.
Because this tree, it's a live tree. It's always there on the square. I'm not sure how many years it's been there, forever, but so it's there year round. It's after, and this event that she's speaking of happens right after Thanksgiving, and then that's when it's decorated for the holiday season. So.
And you're allowed to bring an ornament up of your own and place it on the tree. So we always pick out, you know, some big ornament because it's a big tree and take it up there. And of course, it's like from 4 feet down is mainly what's decorated. That's all we can reach. But yeah, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, there was always stars on top of the tree. It wasn't a cross, but those were blown off in a windstorm and they broke. So someone locally had, you know, made a cross for the top of the tree, and everybody was fine with it, you know. So it had been up there, not always, but for at least probably 5 or 6 years. And we attended the lighting of the tree just like we always did, and it was already lit and the cross was on top of it when all this broke out that they were going to have to remove it from the tree.
Yeah, they have, you know, these events that we had, I mean, we had church groups up there caroling, and there was a live nativity at the church on the corner that right there by the square one year, and there'd never really been much discussion about or controversy about the cross up there. It just was, you know, it was a part of the tree. And well, the young man that filed the lawsuit with the help of the ACLU, saying that, you know, the cross shouldn't be on the tree, and that news broke. I'm not sure if it was, I think we first heard of it on the Indianapolis stations. I'm not sure how we first heard of it, but you know, this is a young man that has lived all his life in this town, and it just spread. The news spread quickly, and the reaction spread very quickly. I don't know if it was even a day or two that we were up there, but people were up there with the crosses, you know, their own handmade crosses. This older couple made a bunch of crosses, and, you know, we went up there and we stood and we expressed our viewpoints that, you know, that cross needs to stay up there, that this isn't right. You know, someone can't just do this, you know, without, you know, it should be a community decision, not a court or one person. It was one of the most, I don't know how to describe it, but one of the most emotional experiences of my life. You know, it just took on a life of its own, of our lives. So.
Yeah. Well, when it first broke, I think maybe Channel 13 is who had it first. It hadn't even made our local paper, but it only comes out on Wednesdays. So we saw it and we're like, oh, he filed a lawsuit. So, you know, people kind of started gathering up there with some crosses, but when the town actually came to remove it, that's when it got really big, really quick. You know, you had all the news channels here, and some people had blocked the square to try to stop the bucket truck. The guy who removed it, he didn't even want to get up there and do it, but that's what the town told him that he had to do because that's what the lawyer said to do. And it was so emotional to see the cross come down. You know, for me as a Christian, I thought, this is terrible. And then when you start looking at the coverage on the news channel, and our town has got all these people yelling and screaming, and that's when I thought, well, I don't want that to be me. You know, I don't want people to see me as, I guess, a Bible thumper, I guess is the best way to put it. And we're kind of like, well, that's, you know, we want to represent God and his love.
We didn't like get together and say, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to protest, we're going to organize, we're going to march here, we're going to do this. People just came out of their homes and they went down to the square. They started bringing their crosses. I don't think it was too much. I don't think it was too little. It's what happened. It grew up out of our spirit.
It was kind of shock, I think, because being here, we're kind of sheltered from that, you know, and to have somebody come down and say, you can't have that, it's like, what do we do? So we just all went down there and stood together because that's all we have, you know, is our family and our community.
So let's get updated. A local man complains to the ACLU about a cross at the top of the Knightstown, Indiana Christmas tree. Everybody in town is fine with it, except for one guy. And this starts a firestorm. All the local news stations picked it up, Fox and Friends, and by now it's national. And as a response, the Knightstown Town Council voted to remove the cross. The town was upset.
Well, the lawsuit was when they removed the cross, all the ministers here gathered and we kind of come up with a plan that, hey, if the cross isn't the only thing on the tree, I don't think that'd be an issue. So the cross did go back up on the tree, but they wouldn't allow us to put it on the top. And then there's other ornaments on there as well, so it's not just the cross, but he dropped the lawsuit because the cross was not on top of the Christmas tree.
I don't think that the ACLU or their lawyers were expecting as big of a blow up as happened, that all the world's eyes were on this. So once that compromise was reached, they kind of backed off. And we also, the town council, you know, they had decided to originally take the cross down because of the threat of a lawsuit. I'm not even sure it was filed yet, but and their lawyers told them that, you know, it would cost this town a lot of money to fight that lawsuit, and that it would break this town financially. And that's why they decided prematurely to take the cross down, because they didn't want that expense and heartache, you know, but it made it worse at that time.
But I think the most moving one was Lau.
Oh, yes.
He is from, where's he from?
I want to say Romania.
And you know, it's communist. And he got up and spoke and said, you know, that's why I left. And they were only letting a certain number of people leave. I was fortunate enough to leave. I'm a minister here. Thought I would be able to come to the United States and show my faith, and this is what I get, you know, the first Christmas that he was here. And I think that might have turned some of the thoughts on the council.
And then others argued, well, if you let the cross be on there, then you have to let the Satanists have their symbols, and you know, the Buddhists have their Buddhas and this and that.
Witches, we heard that.
Yeah, witches. Okay, how many Buddhists in here? Okay,
yeah.
You know, but the fact is, I think we'd live through it if that did happen. You know, if someone wanted to put a Buddha there by the tree, let them. You know, it is a free country. It doesn't promote that. The cross does not convert you. It's what's inside you. It's celebrating what's inside you.
As a result of this controversy, residents began putting up their own crosses everywhere in town, businesses and homes. One cross came down and 1,000 went up.
And the man that filed the lawsuit said it was causing him stress and anguish to drive past and look at it. And when it all came out, there were several people that said, I didn't even realize it was a cross.
Or that it was up there.
Or that it was even up there. But that cross came down and hundreds went up all over town.
Yeah,
so
and they're still up.
There's
I mean,
still some of them up around town. So now he's got to look at all of them instead of just one, you know.
And they'll be up in full force, I'm sure, again in next season.
Then something happened in the hearts of the people in town. And it sort of plays out like the Grinch in the town of Whoville.
The shirt is a part of the Matthew 540 movement, and we sold a few of them, and it says "Keep Christ in Christmas." In Knightstown, a few of them said "Keep Christ in Christmas," but this one says "Keep Christ in Knightstown." Has the tree there, and it's, you know, has the cross, and it's just, you know, kind of encapsulating what we were about. And this was just one venue for getting the word out. But we also had several ministers that didn't normally, you know, meet together, go ahead and meet together, had a special meeting, and then we had formed a rally at the local Methodist church. Kurt Hunt was very passionate about this, the minister there. The situation where the young man utilized the ACLU or the ACLU used him, I'm not sure how you want to look at it, but he sued the town. And then I don't know when we first thought of the Matthew 540 verse, but if someone sues you for your shirt, give them your coat as well. If someone asks you to walk a mile, walk 2. And that really spoke to us.
Yeah, we were trying to think of something to call it, you know, because we were thinking, well, we found out that this man's father has terminal cancer, and they were really struggling financially, and so we thought, well, you know, what could we do to help him? Well, mainly we're thinking, you know, we want to turn this around into a positive, and maybe he was lashing out because of his circumstances. We weren't sure. So we decided to flip through the Bible and think, you know, come up with some verses. And we went over a couple others, but then when it came up that he was actually going to sue the town, we're like, this is it. This is perfect for what our cause is going to be.
And his mother is not in great health either, where he lives. And also a local church came up with the idea of doing a food drive for them, because we understood that, you know, food was a major issue with expenses. So they did that, and we actually went over to the house. I don't know if that was Christmas Eve, but close to Christmas Eve, and delivered all the food to him. And you know, he's a little older than you, right?
He's a little older.
But he went to school with my son, and my son, who's, you know, moved away, but he knew him when they were growing up, and he seems like a nice young man. I don't know where his life led him, but he was very gracious when we came in, you know, very humble. And his mother, I knew his mom. She's a little older than me, but, you know, just a nice lady. And it was just like we were there visiting for Christmas, you know. So that was great. And then anyway, we went over, once we got close to Christmas, it was about almost $1,000. I think it was about $900 we had raised. And we took it over to the house and gave it to them, and they used it for, you know, their bills and their Christmas. And Judy, the stepmother, was able to come to the service, the rally at the church, and they did an anointing there.
Yeah, they did, and all of us gathered around and prayed for her at the church. And there was a few people, I think, shocked when she came in, you know, but and everyone around town had like lit crosses and put them in their yards and their windows, and including her.
Yeah.
Her and his father had a cross lit in their yard, and they were very gracious. And well, we had the rally, and at the rally we took up food donations, and we also had a box for cash donations.
Yes.
And we made little cross popsicle ornaments and handed those out, and it was really nice.
Yeah.
And it was every minister from this area was here.
Yeah, and they
all spoke.
participated.
You know, all different churches, and It was really nice, really nice. No, there was a lot of people that were not happy about it. You know, like on Facebook, we got all kinds of, there was a lot of support and there was a lot of negativity that went along with it, you know. And I don't know, I just felt like he needed help, he needed love, the family needed help, and they are our family, our friends, our community. You know, my mom and his mom were friends, and they watched us grow up, and you know, it's one of those things that just because he's acting out doesn't mean you don't help.
Yeah, and they live right across the street from her mother and father. And Judy, the stepmother, that you know, her family ran this restaurant for 30 years back in the 60s and 70s. So it's like, you know, we know these people. These people are family in a way. So it's really all about unconditional love. It just boils down to that. It's very hard sometimes to unconditionally love some people, but that's what we're supposed to do. It wasn't hard to love this young man, but you know, in some cases, I'm sure there's instances where it is hard to love someone, but that's the example that he set. So
that's the call.
That's it.
Wow, what a story. You know, as Joseph said in the Bible, what man intended for evil, God intended for good. It played out here. An atheist tried to destroy a town's iconic Christmas image, and instead, he received a full dose of grace and mercy. That's what this story is all about. Well, the fight continues, and you need to be informed. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like this video. You'll see more content coming your way. You can also read my book, Holding the Line, America's Fight for Religious Freedom. It's available on Amazon. Thanks for joining me. Keep holding the line.